All right, now here's something straight out of the Trump playbook. Forget spreadsheets, forget strategy, forget economics, some would say, and bring on the instincts. That's right. The American President Donald Trump says that he is going to decide tariff exemptions not based on data, but on gut feel. You almost can't take a pencil to paper, is what he said. It's really more of an instinct than anything else. Listen to what he said.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sir, would you consider exempting some U.S. companies, maybe some larger companies who have been hit hard in the markets the last few days during this 90-day?
As time goes by, we're going to take a look at it. There are some that have hit hard. There are some that, by the nature of the company, get hit a little bit harder, and we'll take a look at that, yeah.
How will you determine the next 90 days?
Just instinctively, more than anything else. I mean, you almost can't take a pencil to paper. It's really more of an instinct, I think, than anything else.
So imagine that, the world's biggest economy being stirred by not economic models. Today it's smartphones off the tariff list perhaps. Tomorrow it could be semiconductors getting the heat. And the day after, well, who knows, maybe bicycles, avocados, or even saris. So what's Trump doing here with this promise of selective tariff exemptions? Is he dangling carrots in front of industry? The auto industry is already being tossed a bone. He says they will be helped because they need a little time, is what he says. And for countries like India, whether it's about exporting textiles or auto components or tech hardware to the United States, this kind of unpredictability doesn't just sting, it reshapes trade strategy, doesn't it? Because we're not dealing with a rules-based system anymore. And the kicker is this, that lobbying in the US is legal. Yes, regulated, but it is robust with billion-dollar budgets that drive influence campaigns. But can lobbying blur into favoritism, or worse, can it turn into corruption? Tonight, we're asking, will America's free market image take a hit? Is tariff by instinct the new industrial policy, and what could it mean for Indian exporters? Joining me to decode this is Rajkumar Rao, Managing Director of Rao Advisors. He's a sharp voice of the global op-ed space, and it's always good to have you with us. As also tonight, Mr. Rao, you've tracked American politics closely. How would you interpret Trump's statement about using instincts to grant tariff exemptions?
Thanks for having me again, Vikram. This is not a surprise. I mean, when he walked out on the onto the Rose Garden lawn and he had the chart and he had a bunch of tariffs for a bunch of countries, and the next day those and the days afterward, those numbers changed. For China, it went from whatever to 85% to 145%. So this is not to be this is expected with Trump. And the key point I think we should make, there are 2 points I would like to make. One is Trump's detractors will always say that there is a conflict of interest, there is a possibility of corruption. No matter what Trump does, his detractors will disagree with him. But Trump's supporters, I think, overall, they're okay with this. I don't think they understand it, but I think they're okay with this instinct thing because they really trust him to make the right decisions for America. I mean, that's what the MAGA movement is all about, that he's doing this for the country. And second thing is, a lot of people also believe that Trump doesn't have to be personally corrupt because he's already a very wealthy person. And so, but you're absolutely right. The perception of corruption is all around. There are so many players, so a lot of these decisions can go bad and may actually end up benefiting certain people in the close circle.
Correct. So also this brings up a larger question about unpredictability because, unpredictability is what the markets don't like. And certainly when it comes to trade, when you see a policy which is not uniform in nature, it does pose a big threat. And these tariffs themselves, are they manageable if you at least know the rules? Because when you don't have them, it seemingly leaves exporters out in the cold. They don't know exactly what the approach of the administration is going to be. So it's every time there is no rule book to go by.
Oh, you're 150% right about that. Look what happened on Friday last week. I mean, when the markets were taking a hit about electronics imports, then the Customs and Border Patrol, they placed a harmless comment somewhere in a document that said, well, we are placing exemptions for importing electronic components from China to a tune of $100 billion. And then on the Sunday talk shows, that's what the administration leaders were saying. And all of that was thrown out when Trump came out and placed a message on his Truth Social website to say, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We will still have our own tariffs for semiconductors. So you're absolutely right. There is so much uncertainty in the market. How do you expect a company to invest in their countries to export or to even invest in the US to build stuff, because nobody knows what's going to happen, and that is the problem. So this will all have to settle down, and it might take months for it to settle down.
We have an Indian exporter with us who is currently wondering what's going to happen, and he's joining us on the phone line, Ankit Kabra. Ankit Kabra, explain to us your situation. I understand that you have a consignment that's heading out to the United States. Tell me about the difficulty that you're facing.
Hi, guys. So, yes, there are certain difficulties that we are facing when it comes to sending our shipment to U.S. from China. The shipment left on a particular date. At that time, we were already under a Trump tariff from the previous, term that he had of 25%. And after it left, the tariffs were changed to 45%, and they moved up to 125, 145, and 245. There is no clarity even on the clearance part by agents in U.S. or by the shipping lines as to what is going to be applicable. Is it going to be from the date of shipping or from the date of arrival? So everything is kind of unclear when we look at it that way. And due to that, we are kind of in a fix trying to understand how to manage this when it arrives there, and how are we going to explain forward to our clients that what is applicable and what is not applicable, even on other shipments that we are discussing with them.
Kabra, how different is this situation to anything that you may have faced in your long innings as an exporter?
So previously, when, in the previous term that he had, when these tariffs were announced, there was a certain date given and more clarity given onto when these were going to be applicable. It was going to be applicable from the date of shipping and stuff like that. Currently, because these, tariffs are changing on a daily basis on what they are being applied to and stuff like that, no clarity is there among any of the agents or any of the shipping lines that we are working with.
So is this a system that is going to stay is the larger question, and how much does that really compound the problem as far as exports to the United States is concerned, and as far as the American economy is concerned as well? Let me take that across to Mr. Rao. Mr. Rao, how do you interpret the kind of trouble that an Indian exporter is facing? Would this be a large piece of trouble that we are going to see sustained problems with as far as the Trump administration is concerned for the years to come that he remains in power?
I think so. I think so, because for the first time, Vikram, we are witnessing, and I've been in this country for 40 years, for the first time, we are witnessing a truly executive presidency. I've never seen anything like it. Congress is an innocent bystander. We don't even know what Congress does anymore. There are 535 people who go there. We don't know what they do, right? So this is all going to happen in the White House, and it is happening in the White House. There is a small team led by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Navarro, and we don't know where Navarro is, and Lutnick and a few others, but largely, this is a very, very closeted group of people. High-level decisions are made, and then Trump goes and announces them. So, as regards how it will help or hurt India, this is where it is. Unless India actually sends a high-level team to sit down, negotiate, and put these things down on paper, this uncertainty will exist for India.
So it seems to suggest that companies that align with Trump's agenda, or at least his manufacturing goals for the US, now those may get exemptions. Does that turn American trade policy into a kind of favor economy? Because it really changes the game and perception of how America does business as well, Mr. Rao.
Absolutely, you're again spot on. I mean, look, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, and I'm sure you picked it up. Mark Zuckerberg was up yesterday, testifying in court about his Instagram and WhatsApp purchases. The FTC had imposed a $30 billion, transaction to collect penalties, and Zuckerberg saw there was a huge amount, and you saw how he, contributed to Trump's campaign. And also he agreed to pay $25 million to Trump in the form of a lawsuit. And guess what? Now they're talking about Meta only paying $450 million as opposed to $30 billion. So this is not good, right? I mean, why do you think Tim Cook became friendly and went to Mar-a-Lago? The NVIDIA CEO was dining with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. So you're right. So individual companies, individual leaders of countries, they will all be doing a lot of individual lobbying with Trump and his top team, and will definitely benefit from it. This is not what we expected, right? I mean, there is authority, as you know, Vikram. There are committees. There are about 750 trade committees, meaning members of trade committees who are supposed to sit down, sit with Congress and decide these rules. But all of that is out the window. Right now, everything is happening amongst just a few people in the White House.
So now, as the US is concerned, it's ranked 29th in the latest corruption perception index, Mr. Rao, and it puts the US behind peers like Germany, Japan, even the United Kingdom. So if these kind of policies start becoming unpredictable or maybe favor-based, could this lobbying morph into something more sinister, like corruption? Do you think that's a likelihood as well that we'd have to see America contend with, and of course the rest of the world that does business with the US?
Yeah, there is a risk there, but even in 2019, you see, the other issue here is that Trump owns the Trump organization. He has obviously said, I mean, he has not completely disbanded himself from the Trump organization. And so even as this is going on, we have the Trump sons crisscrossing the world and doing deals and so on. But the thing is, there has never been any specific charge or specific, something to prove that the Trump family benefited from maybe a couple of $100 million, but we're talking about literally, hundreds of billions of dollars here. So there was never any specific charge. So that's one thing. My concern actually is the decisions that the top officials around Trump will make, because somebody may be invested in Wall Street. There was a little bit of talk, for instance, the other day that Lutnick prefers bonds, and so whatever he was doing was helping him in the bond market initially. So the thing is, there will always be these things, and you're right. Who knows? The corruption perception index, as you said, might fall. But we'll have to see how things play out.
And how does this kind of policy, and if perception changes and the message it sends out to the world, how do you think America's perception as a free market leader is going to change? Because that's going to be an important piece, right?
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely, it will change. Most of these, I think, the leaders, they will try to make it appear as though they were not influenced by anyone, that they were primarily influenced by, free market economics. Like, for instance, you saw NVIDIA announcing nearly $500 billion of investment in the US. So who knows what happened behind the scenes, but people look at the bright side and they just feel that this is the cost of doing business. The one other thing though, Vikram, the US has been known, the US is, as you very well said in the introduction, because of K Street lobbying, it is known very well that people who have money can influence people in Washington to get things done their way.
Yes.
I mean, that's a very, very well known fact. So I think that perception has stayed, that perception will continue.
Yes.
The only thing is that the players at the receiving end will not be Capitol Hill and Congress and staffers, but it will be people in the White House because this is an executive presidency.
Exactly. So when the world's biggest economy starts writing trade rules with a hunch or an instinct, it's not just American businesses that are going to feel the tremors. It's everyone, really, from Bengaluru to Berlin. For Indian exporters, of course, this isn't just a tariff threat. It's a test of agility as well, adaptability, and how well we can play on a pitch that's constantly shifting. Of course, the Vice President of the United States, Mr. Vance, is going to be in our neck of the woods, and we'll see exactly how that goes. But Mr. Rao, it's always a pleasure getting in your perspective. Thanks very much for joining us on India Tonight.